The other person who's on this chart kind of a lot, despite having, I would say, a weak year, is Travis Scott.
Okay.
Fiend is the other big Travis Scott song of the moment, the one with the cool Playboy Cardi verse.
Crazy shot, had me in the deep end. She not in the scene. She just trying to go.
My main Travis Scott input this year are TikToks of people being like, I can't believe how cheap Travis Scott tickets are. You've seen these?
Yes.
On SeatGeek right now, and look how cheap these tickets are. For Travis Scott's first show of his Circus Maximus tour, it's looking as cheap as $10.
So something's going on with the tour. I don't totally understand it. We'll get Cesario on it. I guess resellers bought a lot of tickets, and demand was not what it seemed to be, allegedly. Don't sue me. And now, 2 days before the show, 3 days before the show, 2 hours before the show, you want a pretty decent Travis Scott ticket, you could probably get it in secondary markets at least for $10.
Or tertiary markets. This is something we've seen with rap tours over the last 12 months or so, where like there was this huge demand coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Ticket prices were insane, you know, stuff like the Drake and 21 Savage tour. And then rappers like Lil Baby or Lil Durk or Travis Scott, like they've had to fight back a lot online to be like, look how crowded my show is, because there are these screenshots that go viral of like, you're in Delaware and you want to see Travis Scott, and like you said, tickets are like 11
tickets
bucks.
for $10.
Yeah. Do you think that is part of this moment of sort of like, where is the center of rap music and what are we doing?
Yeah, I also think that Travis specifically, Rod Wave's a slightly different proposition to me, but Travis specifically, obviously here's a person who's coming off the Astroworld tragedy, who has to re-solidify himself as not just a live performer where it's safe to go, but who is also viable. There's a business is on the line here, because people want, if Travis can't fill an arena, that the entire proposition falls out the bottom. And so I think some of it is that. I also think, okay, is Travis Scott a popular rapper? Is Travis Scott a rapper? Like, this is something I was grappling with a lot over the last few days.
He's a merch dealer.
He's a merch dealer. I think he's an EDM artist. Like, I think EDM is not like a term that I use. Like, it's like obviously like a fake term that became a real term. But as I was listening to the Travis songs that are on the charts and on Rap Caviar, and then went back to listen to some other stuff, it's an album I've heard. This is not the best Travis Scott album at all, but
You don't love Utopia?
sorry, my apologies.
I'm just imagining who that guy is.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It's like the guy, there was like some, I forget the TikTok where they interview someone who has like the Cactus Jack logo tattooed on him. Right. Like that guy like breaking through the door right now. Be like, you don't love Utopia.
One time I called out a guy for wearing a Houston Astros hat in New York. This was right after the cheating scandal. Don't worry about it. I was like, oh, like, you're gonna wear that
like a
in a New
rando
York bar? Yeah. I don't like the Astros. This was a moment where this was acceptable, and he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, your hat, and he was like, oh, it's a Travis Scott hat. It's like,
it's worse.
No, it's a Houston Astros.
It's actually worse. That's actually like a war. That's the worst answer you could give.
Anyway, you were talking about how Travis Scott sounds.
Can I also just say apologies to Bun B for the Astros slander? If you're watching, apologies. I'm sorry. I can't.
Bun B knows the Astros cheated.
I just can't. Stop. So I was trying to listen to Utopia with a different ear than I listened to it when it came out. Travis Scott is let's not call him a rapper right now. Travis Scott is an artist whose primary contribution / weaponry is sound and texture, and the way that he has deployed different sonic frequencies and like burrs and
beat switches
and low ends and so on and so forth. That to me is actually what Travis Scott is really useful for. Not
Human Pinterest, would you say?
What's that?
Human Pinterest?
As someone has said, yes. But to me, that is the thing that he's excelling at. And as we're going to talk about a little bit later, helping to set into motion an entire micro generation or multiple micro generations of artists who see that as what hip hop is supposed to do. Not rapping or bars or whatever, or like not about vocals, certainly not about content, maybe about vocal texture a little bit. But the Utopia record to me is a collection of rumbles. It's like, I mean, this is like extremely random and abstract, but like, you know about these like car speaker competitions where it's like just like low tones and da-da-da, and there's like occasional albums of that kind of stuff. It's sort of almost in that vein of thing where like if you just play the first 10 seconds of any of these songs, or if the album was just the first 10 seconds of the song, you'd get 90% of the information that you need to get about Travis Scott.